Hello and welcome to another episode of the Morning Brew live on NTN. Today we're bringing you more updates coming from the government of Saint Lucia from the GIS studios. My name is Jessie Leonce. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today is Tuesday, the 18th of August 2020. In the lead stories for this 24-hour news cycle, we get an update from the NIC and also an appeal going out for employers to update their information as individuals return to work, and of course, more specifically in the tourism sector, we have the hotels reopening, and so it is important that the NIC gets that data. We'll have that story coming up in just a while. Saint Lucia is rated #1 in the Caribbean for the national COVID-19 response. We brought you that story yesterday, but it was just an announcement. We'll be getting into the details of that in just a moment, and the Ministry of Education presses on with replacing the common entrance examination. We also have a special interview in studio with us today. Ms. Danielle Gordon, project manager of the Increase St. Lucia's capacity to monitor multilateral environmental agreements, implementation and sustainable development project. A mouthful, but she's going to come in to speak to us about the latest initiatives of the government of St. Lucia by way of the season premiere of a climate change film on St. Lucia going into the future. So that interview is coming up. We have the lead stories to share with you, and that is coming up after this break. Stay with us.
She's been watching, waiting, wondering when the sands of time will give way to a tide of change, and for yesterday and today to become a new tomorrow. For a time when her sun can kiss the cheeks of your loved one and her stars can twinkle in her honeymoon skies. When her earthly embrace will reassure and calm your soul. And her unique view can change your whole perspective. Proudly, she has risen to meet new challenges and to provide safe harbor to all who reach her shores. For her hopes and dreams still stand, shoulder to shoulder, a precious reminder of experiences yet to come. So, wherever your moments and memories take you, let her sense of adventure set you free. She is Saint Lucia.
Thank you so much for staying with us. If you're just joining us, a special good morning to you. This is another edition of the Morning Brew live on NTN. We're bringing you the latest updates from the government of St. Lucia. In the news, the St. Lucians are continuing to benefit from the economic relief program that is being administered by the National Insurance Corporation, NIC. The program provides financial support to the thousands of NIC contributors who lost their jobs due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And to date, the NIC has paid out $36.2 million to 15,805 contributors. The Economic Relief Program provides payment of a monthly sum equivalent to 50% of the insurable earnings of an affected insured person, subject to a minimum of $500 and a maximum of $1,500. To date, the monthly average payout of the NIC program is $908. Initially making payouts for April, May, and June 2020, the NIC extended the economic relief program for 3 more months, considering the ongoing adverse impact of COVID-19 on the business sector, including the hotel sector, which employs a significant number of its contributors. The National Insurance Corporation has issued a call to employers to update their portal information, given that hundreds of St. Lucians are now returning to work following the reopening of economic activity. We have Head of Group Internal Audit at the NIC, Suan Shalri Payne, explaining how that process will work.
The process starts by the employer informing NIC that those individuals that they would have uploaded for have since returned to work or their layoff period has ended. Those persons would be paid up to the time they were laid off. In cases where the period straddles, so for example, they returned to work mid-month, so say mid-August, maybe they just returned to work mid-August, they would be processed up to August, pending information from the employer as to how much they would have been earning for the month of August, and that would be seen as the financial benefit that they would have gotten and would be treated as normal up to August. September, they would not be entitled to an economic relief because they would have returned to full employment.
That was Sue Ann Chaudhry Payne, head of Group Internal Audit at the National Insurance Corporation. Communications manager at the NIC, McNaughton McLean, says the corporation remains committed to see the economic relief program through to its scheduled end on the 30th of September 2020. However, expect the number of beneficiaries to reduce as more businesses resume operations.
We do anticipate with the reopening of the economy that we will see a reduction perhaps in the number of individual applicants receiving the payout. We don't anticipate it will be a huge number. You indicated 1,000, or just over 1,400 or so from the hotel sector. That's in comparison to perhaps 13,000, 14,000 employees that are employed in that sector. So while we will continue to make the payouts to the qualifying applicants, we do anticipate with the reopening of the economy that we will see some reduction in the number of persons actually receiving payouts from perhaps July up until September.
The Economic Relief Program of the NIC forms part of the government's social stabilization plan in response to the COVID-induced economic crisis. We continue with news. As of August 14th, Saint Lucia was rated #1 in the Caribbean for the national COVID-19 response. In a comparative data analysis of confirmed COVID-19 cases per 10,000 population in the Caribbean, Saint Lucia had a rating of 1.40. The island has registered a 100% recovery rate of the 25 positive cases of COVID-19. Minister for Health and Wellness, Senator Mary Isaac, says this achievement is owed in large measure to the cooperation of its citizens.
This is not to say that we are out of the woods. As you know, there is still no vaccine for COVID. And since our borders are open, especially to the US and the UK, we have to continue to be very vigilant in order for us to maintain these ratings and in order for us to continue to contain the virus in St. Lucia.
That was the Honorable Mary Isaac, Minister for Health and Wellness. Senator Isaac says while the island's borders are open to international travel, including countries considered hotspots, illegal travel from neighboring islands can compromise the fight against the pandemic.
This is one of the greatest threats to us right now. People sneaking into the country without being tested, without a COVID test, and who we are not aware come in and they're amongst our people here. And of course, as you can see, we have people who are not respecting the protocols. They are having big parties. They are having large congregations of people who are not wearing their mask. And these are the people who are putting our country at risk of reintroducing COVID amongst us. I need to caution those people, as well as the people who encourage them to come in and hide themselves amongst us. I am appealing to the public, to our people, who have been the greatest part in terms of our accomplishments so far. I am appealing to them. If you know of any such person, you need to report the person to the authorities.
Health Minister Senator Mary Isaac cautioning individuals who are coming into the country illegally and those who encourage, and we call that what, city wares, persons who are coming illegally into the country. An advisory going out, we are doing very well. Of course, based on these latest statistics, we are doing the best in the Caribbean in terms of how we are managing COVID and containing COVID-19 here on the island. If you see anybody who is in breach of the protocols, and that's protocols I'm speaking in terms of the home quarantine, individuals who are entering the country illegally, anybody who is doing what they're not supposed to, and who stands to be punished if need be, so that the population can remain protected, please say something. Please call the numbers 311-999. Call the police. They also have powers of arrest and detention for individuals who are in contravention of the protocols. So please take note of that. We're going to take a break. We have more news coming up. Again, a gentle reminder of our interview for this morning from Ms. Danielle Gordon, project manager of the Increased Saint Lucia's Capacity to Monitor MEA's Implementation and Sustainable Development Project. We have the season premiere of a climate change film, Saint Lucia into the Future. She's going to be speaking to us about this latest venture of her department. So stay with us. When we come back, more news and a special interview.
Saint Lucia ka registre vermin corona ek I ka fait mouvement ek en chay vitesse tan chaque canef ka kouye pour vigilance publique la fait wolo parler en place publique qu'on bon en mai base ti boutique changer distance sociale 6 pieds Rodyon à l'autre. I ka travail tan, si ou senti ko pas cordial, quarantine ko, pas en contact et puis l'autre, en cas où te toi pe exposé. Si un écouye, free one ou ben n'importe clinique yo pou. Les pays a dimi à clé, ça veut dire les supermarkets, pharmacies et puis ATM, yo accessible avant c'était souhait. Pays à clé en plein, ça veut dire tout bagay fermé à 24 heures. Servi protocole comme sorti par bureau indication santé. Nous tout ensemble, ça sauver vermine corona. Si nous tous servi Jidla à toutes les.
Together let us win this war. Saint Lucia be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
Overnight, growing national unrest.
Society, a digital cashless society, one world currency.
A vaccine for COVID-19.
Droplets
of COVID virus.
Macy's iconic flagship.
Virus of COVID-19.
Set inside
The coronavirus.
Everybody vaccinated
On the corona pandemic.
Our opposition to the lockdown.
Infected conspiracy theories.
Bizarre claims.
The truth about the origin of COVID-19 hidden from the rest of the world. And the Chinese.
In this constantly changing environment, resulting in sensory overload, cut through the noise and tune in to the National Television Network, the official source of information, all facts.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. We continue with the latest news coming from the government of Saint Lucia. Training on the implementation of the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, that is CPEA, led by the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC, has come to a fruitful conclusion. However, the Ministry of Education has been expressing and pressing on the need for the groundwork. However, the Ministry of Education, apologies for that double line, all 8 school districts will be carrying out further training on the internal components of implementing the CPEA. We hear more in this report.
The Ministry of Education, Innovation, Gender Relations and Sustainable Development is confident that it has developed a comprehensive strategy for the implementation of the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment, the CPEA, which replaces the Common Entrance Examination this September. Officials believe that the CPEA will better afford all students a more rounded education experience, as well as enhance access and equitability in education. The ministry has held a number of fact-finding missions in order to establish best practices. Education Officer for Assessment in the ministry, Patterson Abraham speaks under consultations with counterparts in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
We had discussions on what were the experiences when they first implemented the CPA program, what were some of the challenges that they experienced, and some of the ways that they went about to battle those challenges. And so that has helped us to create our own template as to how we see the best fit to implement this program come September in our schools.
The ministry has created a system of support for each of the 8 school districts. An officer has been assigned to work alongside education officers, curriculum officers, numeracy and literacy officers, principals, and teachers. Training is also being provided to address identified areas of deficiency.
Some of these areas are the development of tabular specifications when it comes to the development of tests. And so what we have planned to do is to carry out additional training with those teachers, with our principals, with our education officers, so that the monitoring is very effective and that the successful implementation of the program would be something that we all can look forward to come September of this year.
The challenges presented by COVID-19, Mr. Abraham says, have been factored into the implementation plan.
Many persons may feel that it may be a challenge, but we are also taking into consideration the changes in the school day as well as the number of days that students attend school. We are also taking this into consideration in our implementation plan. So I think so far, what we have done and the structures that we have put in place would definitely address those shortcomings and see a great success in the implementation.
Given the groundwork that has taken place and the collaboration between the Ministry of Education and partner agencies like CAMDO, Mr. Abraham says Saint Lucia is well on the way to a successful implementation of the Caribbean Primary Exit Assessment Program. From the Government Information Service, Lisa Joseph reporting.
In an effort to aid in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, the Republic of China, Taiwan has donated a total of 10,000 surgical masks to St. Lucian judicial workers, including frontline policemen and firefighters. The ambassador of the Republic of China, Taiwan to Saint Lucia, His Excellency Peter Shen, recognized the important role that frontliners play in keeping the country safe. The ambassador explained that the donation forms part of Taiwan's commitment to assisting the people of Saint Lucia. And we know that this is not the first donation that we've received from the Republic of China, Taiwan in terms of PPEs for Saint Lucia. We go to our first clip from His Excellency Peter Shen.
For the past few months, the world has suffered from COVID-19. I admire Honorable Prime Minister Ellen Chesney's leadership and efforts of the people of Saint Lucia during these challenging times. Saint Lucia has reported a 100% recovery rate with 0 COVID-19 related deaths. What an accomplishment. Saint Lucia has been one of the closest diplomatic allies of Taiwan and has always been supporting Taiwan's participation in international organizations such as UN, the World Health Organization. And it's only natural that Taiwan stands by Saint Lucia, especially at a recovery time like this.
His Excellency Peter Shen. The Minister for Home Affairs and National Security, Senator the Honorable Herman Gill Francis, expressed gratitude to the government of the Republic of China, Taiwan for their continuous support.
I want to say that this is not the first donation that Taiwan has given to Saint Lucia. Taiwan continues to be a very, very, very important and good friend to Saint Lucia. And so on behalf of the people and government of Saint Lucia, we want to thank you for your continued support to assisting our country, not only in this medical equipment, but you have done human service for us when it comes to agriculture, education, and other areas, including sports. So again, I don't want to take too long. I just want to thank you very much for inviting us to this ceremony, and to thank you for the donation of this face mask, which will go a long way in assisting our frontline officers in dealing safely with this pandemic.
Attorney General Stephen Julian, Attorney General of Saint Lucia, was also on hand to receive the donation on behalf of judicial workers.
Saint Lucia sees Taiwan as a true friend, and this donation is a demonstration of it, because as far as I'm aware, we are receiving having not even asked. So you've seen a need, you have appreciated the work done by our frontline workers, and with your sterling record of where it pertains to COVID-19 and your response, you're a world leader in that area, and with our own admirable efforts, we think we would only be strengthened in keeping Saint Lucia on the right path, protecting our nationals, protecting those who leave home every day and go and serve us to fight the scourge of COVID-19. So we're very appreciative of it.
That was Attorney General of St. Lucia, Stephen Julian. The handing over ceremony of the surgical face masks took place on Friday, this past Friday, August 14th, 2020. Do stay tuned. When we come back, we have the special interview with Ms. Danielle Gordon, Project Manager of the Increase St. Lucia's Capacity to Monitor MEA's Implementation and Sustainable Development Project. Do stay tuned.
What does coronavirus have in common with love? Both are highly contagious. Spread love, not the virus. Like you, COVID-19 loves a lime. Beach, river, or fed. Coronavirus is like these people who track every lime just to invade. The best way to put off invaders? Cancel the lime. Spread love, not the virus. Keep you and your crew corona-free. Live to lime another day.
Together let us win this war. Saint Lucia be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
Okay. Thank you so much for staying tuned. In our last segment, we did round off the latest news stories for the 24-hour news cycle. And at this point in our episode, we want to sit down with Ms. Danielle Gordon from the Department of Sustainable Development. She is the project manager of the Increase St. Lucia's Capacity to Monitor MEA's Implementation and Sustainable Development Project. Quite a mouthful. We will be finding out from her what that exactly means and the latest undertaking of her office. A special good morning to you, Danielle.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
Thank you for being here.
Yes. So my project seeks to monitor the implementation of multilateral environmental agreements. Multilateral environmental agreements are agreements that are made between 3 or more countries with a common environmental goal. Okay. So for St. Lucia, my project speaks primarily to biodiversity, land degradation, and climate change. So our main deliverable is our game-changing platform, the National Environmental Information System, which is a web-based platform that would allow us to monitor the state of St. Lucia's environment. You have multiple agencies, both from the government and non-government organizations, contributing data, environmental data, to this one web platform that the public can access. So that is the www.nis.govt.lc. Now, of course, for us to show the value of the National Environmental Information System and how it is important to everybody else, we have a public education film that demonstrates the use of that data. It's entitled St. Lucia Into the Future.
Okay, so I understand that that project has already been launched. You so far had the season premiere.
Yes.
Just give us an understanding of what so far has already been aired and what is coming up, and what do you want the viewers to capture from these productions?
So, I mean, the most important thing is that everybody plays a key role in ensuring the sustainable development of Saint Lucia. When I say sustainable development, I mean that there's a Saint Lucia for future generations to come. So we have 3 seasons of this film. Well, we show in this film over 3 seasons: climate change, land degradation, and biodiversity. So we have climate change airing first. So last Tuesday at 6 p.m., we had the season premiere of the climate change season. And that targeted increased heat from global warming. Because you know, all the greenhouse gases and how it increases the heat in our atmosphere right now, and what are the adverse effects that we have. I mean, next up, we have consequences of increasingly stronger storms. So you have the impact of persons primarily on the shoreline in Saint Lucia being impacted by the increased severity of those storms. So I mean, we just want to bring home the message of how climate change can impact a small island developing state like Saint Lucia. And you know, what's the public role in this right now? So this is why the film comes in. So we're targeting everyone at all levels for them to see the value of this national environmental information system, how it will allow us to envision these scenarios that we have generated and see what improvements we can make to make Saint Lucia better in terms of environmental management.
Okay, certainly we see the effects of climate change happening all around us. Sargassum seaweed, strengthening of storms during the Atlantic hurricane season. And it's all well and good, we're capturing the data, but what is that data going towards?
So that data, that's where the film shows exactly where this data is going. So we want to have evidence-based policy development. And of course, to have evidence-based policy development, we need to have our data. And the trends in our data allowed us to generate this film, allowed us to generate these scenarios, these possible scenarios of what Saint Lucia will be like over the next 10 to 50 years. So that is why that's where the value of the National Environmental Information System is. You have evidence-based policy development and decision making, and of course public participation, because anyone can access that data, and you know, they can understand why decisions are being made, they can voice their concerns based on the trends that they see, they can plan ahead. Yes.
Okay. Now, Saint Lucia is definitely not the only country or island being impacted by climate change. Certainly, there are many multilateral agreements that we're signed on to. Where do we stand in terms of our response, our aligning, our filling in of the information that is needed as compared to other countries?
Well, I mean, this web platform, this National Environmental Information tool, this reporting tool is the first of its kind in the region. So Saint Lucia is a trailblazer in this case.
Nice.
Where we have this one web platform that everybody can access, and our reports can be generated. The data on there can facilitate proper reporting on our multilateral environmental agreement implementation and sustainable development in Saint Lucia.
Okay. And what will we be looking like in 10 to 50 years in St. Lucia?
That's why you must tune in every Tuesday at 6 p.m.
We certainly will, but you could give us a glimpse into, you know, based on the data, you know, at least, you know, what we can be prepared or braced for in the next 10 to 50 years.
Well, I mean, the most... as a small island developing state, I mean, the increased storms, and you have the increased vulnerability of our shoreline. You have increased sea level rise, and so on. So, I mean, persons who live very close to the shoreline, their properties can be affected right now. You have just the structure of Saint Lucia, the loss of our biodiversity. All of these factors, multiple factors, can be affected. It's a cross-cutting impact. So that is why we must take heed now from this film and take the necessary steps. So tune in every Tuesday at 6 p.m. on our YouTube channel, SDE Saint Lucia, and our Facebook page, Sustaining Saint Lucia 411.
Okay, we're continuing to speak with the project manager of the Increased St. Lucia's Capacity to Monitor MEA's Implementation and Sustainable Development Project. Quite a mouthful, but their work is extensive, and of course they've just launched a series of videos to help the public better understand what is happening in terms of climate change, the importance of documenting what is happening as we move into the next 50 years of trying to contain, mitigate the effects of climate change. We are speaking to Ms. Gordon. More coming up after this break.
What's in the food you're eating? Do you really even know? All the chemicals and hormones used to accelerate their growth. All the artificial flavoring, sweeteners and colors too. We consume and we don't spare a thought for the damage that they'll do. No, think about the children. Think about the children. How will we save them?
Excessive agrochemical use, additives, and genetically modified foods are harmful to health and the environment. Join the good food revolution. Grow, buy, and consume organic. A message from Rise Saint Lucia and the Ministry of Sustainable Development with funding from the GEF Small Grants Program, UNDP.
The good food revolution.
Thank you so much for staying with us. If you're just joining us, a special good morning, but we're on the tail end of our program. We're speaking to Ms. Danielle Gordon. She is the project manager of the Increased St. Lucia's capacity to monitor MEA's implementation and sustainable development. She's from the Department of Sustainable Development, speaking to us on the latest venture to help St. Lucians better understand their role in this whole management of climate change, the efforts to mitigate climate change in the years to come for St. Lucia. And speaking of which, NEIS, Danielle, tell us more about this platform. How can the public, the general public, interface with it, and who is on the back end sorting out the information?
Okay, so the NEIS is the National Environmental Information System. And of course, to access the reports on there, you can go to www.neis.govt.lc. So this is where the public can access the reports generated from the data. Now, you can access both reports and the data, so you can create your own reports based on the data there. But that data comes from government and non-governmental organizations who have agreed through an MOU to contribute periodically to this National Environmental Information System. So you have agencies like Central Statistics Office, you have Department of Planning, Ministry of Health and Wellness, you also have Saint Lucia National Trust.
Met Office?
Yes, Met Office there as well. So you have multiple agencies, all who have agreed through this MOU to commit to uploading data in a very regular manner. If it's yearly or so on, whatever the data trends, the most suitable manner that has been agreed upon, and the data will be uploaded there, and the reports are generated. And when these reports are generated, that is what the public has access to. But also to support the reports, the data is also available to the public. So the public is not able to access the back end and upload the data. That is restricted to the agencies who have signed on to the MOU. But the public can go on. The public can go on and explore reports on the NEIS website. That's www.neis.govt.lc.
Okay, and so the reports that are being generated, can you give us some insight perhaps as to what we have been seeing in terms of the reports that are being generated, the quickness, how expeditiously is the information being uploaded, you know, how keen are the agencies, the government of St. Lucia, on ensuring that the information is being uploaded for the general public to assess for future research, etc.
Right. So, I mean, the system came online in 2018. So we've had to have a series of training with our NEIS users. So everything in itself takes time because this is a premier platform. We have had our kinks along the way, so we're working that out. So we're working with our agencies. So we're hoping that by the end of the project, which is December 2020, everybody will be able to consistently upload data in a timely manner there. But as I said, we are experiencing some delays, but as I said, it's a very new system. So we are working to improve those kinks.
Okay. As project manager of this initiative, can you speak to us about how perhaps COVID-19 would have? I know you started in January, and that, I mean, just a month later we would have had to deal with the onset of COVID-19 in our neck of the woods. How did it impede perhaps your work?
Okay, so we are in the most critical component now, which is component 3, that speaks to public awareness and outreach and education. So of course we had this very elaborate campaign planned out for the last 6 months, we should have ended in June 2020. But of course, because of COVID, we had to put a halt on things. So now the project is in a no-cost extension phase to December, and we've had to modify our campaign. So while we would have liked to go to the different schools and so on to sensitize the students, we now had to modify, and we restricted to online platforms. And of course, you know that the platforms were dominated by COVID-19. So I mean, only now, I mean, things are getting a little better. I mean, COVID-19 is still the main idea of all the media platforms and so on, but we have to try different ways to navigate through that. So that is why we have this series going on. This is one of our revised approaches, because the film should have been aired as one single film, but we think it is best to have a series of episodes that persons can tune into every Tuesday.
Okay, and so far there's been a release of the film.
Yes.
What has the reception been so far to that?
I mean, the viewership, we were quite impressed. But in terms of our survey responses, we were kind of disappointed. So we're hoping that, as viewership increases, that persons will follow through and complete the survey that you have to do at the end of every episode to let the project know, exactly what, how did this film or how did this episode impact you? How do you see what value is it of to you? So I mean, that's very important to us as well.
Okay, and so again, as we wrap up for the morning, if you could just let the viewership know where they can look at these videos as they are released every week.
So it's every Tuesday, so tonight at 6 p.m. you can tune in on our YouTube channel, SDE Saint Lucia, or go to our Facebook page, Sustaining Saint Lucia 411. And the premieres are already uploaded there, so you can go and set your reminder right now so you don't miss out.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Any final words as we close?
Of course, please go onto our National Environmental Information System, explore reports, and let your voice be heard. Get involved in environmental management because public participation is essential for sustainable development of St. Lucia.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much for sitting in with us and helping us better understand what is underway with the Increased St. Lucia Capacity to Monitor MEA's implementation and Sustainable Development Project. Thank you, Danielle Gordon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so very much. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, our viewership, we do end our morning brew for today live on NTN. We do hope you could stay tuned to this channel for more programming. It's rainy outside, so you're indoors if you're in your office with the television on. If you're at home, you're doing some cleaning, we do hope that you keep tuned to the NTN. My name is Jessie Leon signing off for now. Goodbye. Cheers.